And thank you, President of ALTAGAMMA, Matteo Lunelli. The problems, the issues you have talked about are present issues, past issues, future issues. But how can we face these data, especially how are these data important to our guests? We have the Chair and Chief Merchant of Value Retail. Value Retail is an important market leader. She's Desiree Bollier. Thanks for your time today. Then we have the CEO of LVMH Hospitality Excellence, Mr. Andrea Guerra. Bulgari, Cheval Blanc is under the big umbrella of LVMH. Then we have the chairman of Abercrombie & Kent, that since the 60s, he's a leader for exclusive traveling, and he has Manfredi Lefebvre d'Ovidio. We also have today the ALTAGAMMA Vice President for the Hospitality Sector and Managing Director of Porco Ignazio, Mr. Aldo Melpignano. And since 2019, we have, it is the chair of ENIT, the Italian Government Tourist Board, Mr. Giorgio Palmucci. And also today we have with us Chairman and CEO of Virtuoso, that is a very important network of specialized agencies, like, and Matthew Upchurch. Thank you very much for being with us today. And then we also have Giovanna Vitelli, who is ALTAGAMMA Vice President for the yachting sector and Vice President also of Azimuth Benetti. So we will talk together about these themes. But first, I have a question to Mr. Aldo Melpignano. And he's also, he knows very well five-star sector in Italy. So, as a spokesperson for some of Italy's most important five-star hospitality operators, what do you think are their expectations of the government to improve Italy's attractiveness and to succeed in developing true quality tourism? First and foremost, good morning, everyone. About the recommendations, well, Matteo has presented them, and I will just comment on a few things. What are we asking for? Mr. Garavaglia has also said that it is important to enhance the existing infrastructures. This is important. We are behind schedule compared to our international competitors. So we need the government also to become more international. Our companies often are medium to big scale companies. But I also hope that so they often are not in the government's plans. So I hope that in the next government's plan, they will also take into consideration the medium to big size excellence hotels. Often, some of these only have 50 to 60 rooms, or they are family businesses, but still, they are really employing many people. So it's important to support them. We talked about experiences as well. A very important theme is the sustainability, is the local sustainability. So it's important that all historical cities are preserved, are protected by over tourism. And so we, rather than having a tourist that comes only 3 days, and in 3 days they visit Milan, Rome, and Florence. Rather than having this, it's important to have a tourist that comes all year long and in any time of the year and takes their time to enjoy Italy in a better way. And in Switzerland, we have some hotel schools, and so we need the same hotel schools also in Italy, and they must be focused on high-end tourism. These are important themes, and the rest was already mentioned. Yes, thank you very much. I would like to talk also to Mr. Manfredi Levredovidio. And Abercrombie and Kent, from your point of view, in the traveling sector has lived a difficult moment. Now, how do you think that are the expectations changing? You interact with international luxury clients every day, so how?
Well, I mean, it has come to a standstill, no, substantially for 1 year, and we're all waiting a number of things to happen. Number one is, of course, the decline in the pandemic. But the biggest problem is the harmonization of legislation and regulations to travel. Until that is not put in place, it's going to be very difficult for people who want to travel and to know where they can go, and if they risk being put in a quarantine, or they risk remaining in the country without having the possibility to return to their own town, or even worse, than coming back and being put in a quarantine. So that's the biggest, I think, hassle that we have, especially for what concerns the typical business that is Abercrombie and Kent, which is traveling to exotic, faraway destinations, remote places, experiential travel, Africa, visiting India, going to Galapagos Islands, or you name it, faraway destinations, you know. So that is, we're all waiting. Of course, the bad news is the framework is not there yet. The good news is there's pent-up demand. I mean, the demand for this kind of vacation is incredible. People are really waiting to go around and to revisit the world, to be on vacation again, I think.
It sounds great.
You know pretty well also Italy and the position of Italy in the international tourism ranking and the attractiveness of the country for luxury international tourists. Now, what do you make of what we discussed today, and more specifically, which kind of strategy and positioning could the country use to leverage on its high-end tourism?
There's no voice. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me again?
Yes, I can hear you again. So what was the question?
Okay, the question was Italy related, because you have a deep knowledge also of the Italian position in the international tourism. And what would you make to leverage and strengthen the Italian position towards the international luxury traveler market?
Well, of course, Italy sells itself, no? Because Italy is, if you look at the world destinations, the biggest destination is Europe, and Italy within Europe is by far the largest destination. It sells itself through all the things which are good about it: the nature, the cultural life, the historical sites, the cuisine, the hospitality of the people. So then you have to look at what refrains people from traveling to Italy. And again, you know, we spoke about infrastructure. I just imagine, you know, when you want to go to Capri, if you want to arrive by helicopter, it's very, very difficult, you know. You need to have it's a military landing spot. So it has incredible rules to use it. And if you want to go to the luxury travelers, well, they expect to land in Naples and then to take a helicopter and to arrive in Capri without having to go down and take the hydrofoil or 1 hour trip by boat. So easy things to fix, we don't fix them. But as a destination, it's fantastic. People travel to Italy notwithstanding all these limitations.
Yeah, and lastly, you mentioned infrastructure, but ALTAGAMMA is also suggesting a new national communication plan. There has been too high fragmentation in the way that the country communicated itself to the international market. What's your recommendation or your idea of how Italy could position in a better stance towards international luxury traveler?
If you compare certain destinations in Europe, which have much less to offer than Italy, and how much more they are perceived in the market, it's amazing. So this year, I think it's all about Greece. So Greece has been incredibly successful at promoting itself. Why? Because it has opened up very fast. So communication goes with the times. In today's world, communication is about certainty. It's about reliability where you go. It's about islands which are with COVID-free. It's about the fact that people know that going to that destination, they will not have problems and they will be able to come back home. In the future is, of course, promoting what we have, which is incredible. And we have a very, very fragmented promotion. There are certain countries which are trying to promote themselves, which are spending fortunes. Probably Italy cannot afford the same amount of spending, but there's so much to be promoted about Italy, and we do not have a very effective promotion about that.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me double check with Matthew Upchurch, CEO of Virtuoso, that in the last 20 years has become the most important network of travel agents and travel advisors in the luxury segment. Virtuoso has Italy in its name, but having said that, what's your sense of what's happening into the luxury travel industry currently? Have we hit the bottom? Is this a tipping point in terms of recovery? And how different will be high-end travel and hospitality market looking ahead?
Well, first of all, it's wonderful to be here. And I want to say congratulations to Mr. Luleni and ALTAGAMMA, because the data and the information that we just heard is very much on point and offers a very strong framework for moving forward. And as my very dear friend, Mr. Manfred Lefebvre Dovidio just said, Italy does sell itself. But today's conversation is not about whether it sells itself, it's its ultimate potential. So I will say I deal with a lot of governments and a lot of destinations, and this collaboration between the Tourism Authority and ALTAGAMMA, which of course Italy has such an incredible luxury DNA, is very exciting. So specifically, all the things that had luxury travel be in the golden era of travel in 2019, those things have not changed. In fact, it was mentioned earlier, the wealthy are even wealthier today than they were. So while when we experienced the financial crisis, there was obviously a big financial issue to it. But right now, all of those things that generated that are there and have grown. Just to give you one example, when the last baby boomer turns 60 in 2024, this will be the first generation in the history of the planet where 80% of the entire generation is expected to live an additional generation, which is roughly 20 to 25 years. That has never happened. We've always had 80-year-olds, just not this many. And 80% of those people in relative health. Then you go to the Gen Z and the millennials who are expending money on experiences, and you have the greatest confluence of psychology for spending on luxury experiences ever. But I do think that one of the things that was mentioned here is that it's very, very important with this framework. One of the items that was discussed a lot is influencers, and I totally agree with digital. I totally agree with influencers, but I would also say to you that in the process, whether it's in China, which has been a high growth area for us, even in the middle of the pandemic, the influencers are not just celebrities. They are these agencies, concierges, people who have these personal relationships that are those micro influencers who are able to connect with the mental model of a very, very diverse set of consumers.
Yeah, that's very interesting. In talking digital, can you update us on what the web traffic and your online reservation systems are telling you on what the new trends will be and what are people doing?
Well, first of all, the one thing that I'm pleased to report is every major disruption in travel has always actually been good news for a true travel advisor. And I think one thing that people need to know is every industry in the world has bifurcated or polarized between optimized commodity experience, so the Amazons of the world, and optimized experiential. So this has happened in financial services. This has happened, whatever. The big online players get a lot of the ink, a lot of the press because they're big, giant consumer brands. But what gets lost in this bifurcation of markets is the incredible growth in the experiential factor, which tends to be a little more fragmented. Now, one of the reasons that it's fragmented is because the experiential sector by nature is very niche in order to be able to adapt to the very different desires, styles, ways of doing business that they do. So we have seen a massive growth, double digits in consumers, high-end consumers looking for travel advisors, concierges, whatever you want to call them, but people that have that relationship. The secondary thing that I recommend is today the building of a digital platform is not only for direct to consumer, but it's also to be able to be a great digital partner to this group of people who are able to deliver value. So being a hub, being a platform where you can then take this digital data, digital content, and allow somebody else who has relationships of trust, relationships that are nuanced based on generational, cultural, passion points, that type of an approach allows there to be the leveraging of digital, which is beyond the normal idea that digital is purely one to many, but it's actually as a tool. So we're seeing everything that was talked about today is absolutely right on point with regards to the recommendations of this book. I will say that I think that the discussions on infrastructure, a national strategy for Italy that brings everything together, outside the normal seasons. These are all very good things that I've seen today. And again, I want to congratulate you.
Matthew Upchurch ha citato anche Amazon. C'è un signore che oggi si gioca ora per ora il primato di uomo più ricco del mondo con Jeff Bezos, e questo è Bernard Arnault, che ha fondato e in questi anni ha fatto crescere il Guemash, che è un po' la sintesi, con le sue 75 maison che vanno dalla moda fino agli spirits e allo champagne, dai gioielli fino all'ospitalità, la combinazione che è la sintesi di quello che cercano i consumatori del lusso a livello internazionale.
He is always fighting for the first place in being the richest person of the world, Arnaud Bernot. And so, Andrea Guerra, you work as the LVMH Hospitality Excellence, and so I would like to know what is your point of view in terms of what do you think that what do the international travelers desire, what do they want, and so what is the offer that you propose? Good evening, everyone. Nowadays, let's not talk about pandemic, but let's say just that so the international high-end consumers are using more and more digital shopping. On the other side, they are looking for experiences, emotions. So now we live in now we are living in the age of a new industry, of a new evoluted industry, and this is the industry of emotions. And so food, culture, sports, nature, fun, leisure, in this world, you win if you can make people perceive an experience, an emotion. We are very We have a lot of culture in Italy. So we have an unbeatable heritage. But now we need to to establish our own future. In Italy, we have a strong sense of hospitality. And this sense of hospitality is shown by many families. Like in Apulia, in other places, there are some small families that have created an hospitality business. And thanks to these families, they created some places, some regions. They have created storytelling for each and every region. So hospitality sector is an expensive sector. What I mean is that this is an industry that needs strong companies, because without strong companies, without resilience, without a strong 5-year plan, 10-year plan, without that, we cannot take the next step. But we can achieve all these. We can achieve all these. We are Italians, but at the same time, we need an evolution to a better infrastructure. But this evolution will improve also thanks to entities like you, like LVMH would be one of the operators helping the sector. Everyone will be helping. So, of course, luxury companies are good in creating a situation, but everyone must contribute in their own way in this melting pot. So now we have fashion companies opening restaurants, hotel companies opening getting into a different sector. So now we have many nuances of colors that we can enjoy. So once luxury was all about the product, but now luxury can be not just about the product, but also about the experience. So I believe that this is a way to create a new path to the future. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would now go to Desiderio.
And thanks for your time today. And first of all, I would like to understand your feeling on where's the market heading. And you do have also outlet in China. And 12 months ago, you lived what we are living today, easing of restriction and freedom to travel. What happened there? And do you think that this is the same that we're going to see today in Europe and in Italy more specifically?
Thank you for having me. And it's been an incredible session so far. Learned a lot, took a lot of notes from Matteo, Claudia, Matthew, Manfredi. So really, thank you. We are experiencing actually a V-shaped recovery right now, not only in China, but as recently as of 2 weeks ago, things started to open up, be it in the UK, in Ireland, Italy this past week. We find that they are able to trade on the weekend. France is reopened. The only country that is still limited is actually Germany. So I am quite confident, actually, in the reaction of people wanting to regather. my key takeaway, if we wanted to really think macro, is that yes, Italy has amazing things to offer, but yet Italy is extremely fragmented in its voice, and it needs to be united under one brand. Pretty much the way I think about ourselves, right? We are one brand, we're the Mr. Villa shopping collection, but that one brand, one message, then it's taken and regionalized per country, per village, per expertise. The similarity is almost identical, right? You have 21 regions in Italy. Each one of them, of course, knows what they know and what they do best. But to service Italy right, having one voice, one vision, the way the minister has outlined, or the president of ALTAGAMMA has outlined, makes loads of sense. Because then 1 + 1 will equal actually the 21 region. Where the message remains fragmented, it's rather confusing. And the power of the unite becomes extremely important. We know that, we've experienced it. This past 14 months, we became a collection. We started to communicate in a very coherent way, be it on social media, be it on in press. And it served us extremely well because we had key messages we wanted to convey. High net worth clienteling, going after customization of messages, and we responded to exactly what that high net worth client was looking for. Being an individual, a person you speak to as a one-on-one, and not the what I call the blanket messaging. So if Italy develops a macro message about why it is so rich in its culture, in its food, in its seaside, and then really diffuses, takes that actually into allowing the region to customize that, it becomes such a very powerful tool for all of us to benefit from. Every industry, the fashion industry, the design industry, the art industry, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I think we're on the right track.
Thank you, Desiree Bollier, anche per averci ricordato l'interconnessione
Thank you
fortissima che
also
c'è
for
tra...
reminding us the connection between creativity industry and, the Italian taste. And also from this viewpoint, I would like to ask Giovanna Vitelli about the book, because in the book there is this chapter about yachting. And in Italy, we are the first in the world in terms of yacht building. But also we have a very long coastal area. So could this become a factor to improve the yachting sector in Italy?
Good afternoon, everyone. You've rightly enough mentioned the privileged position that Italy has got because we have an incomparable coastal line, and we are a leading country in the building of mega, so-called mega yachts. That is to say, yachts over 24 meters, so the biggest yachts. And this is a very important added value because, as we know, high-end tourism is, of course, a niche in the market, but with very important spillover effects on the whole country. Well, yachting, for its intrinsic value and for the spending capability of people with a yacht, so a yacht owner on average spends for the maintenance about 10% of the value of its property, of its good. So if you consider this of course in turn has a very high multiplying effect if we enter that category where Italy can really lead the ranking. So these large yachts. And this is also confirmed by figures, by statistics, saying that every four boats we have a much more jobs. And this is important for Italy, as we of course know it's far more important when it comes to attract foreign yacht owners. And this has to do with legislation and with tax regulations that over the time has not always supported this sector, of course. And then there's a further issue that has to do somehow with the issues that we've discussed today, and that I really think are crucial, such as infrastructures. Just think of how in Italy, to the fact that we don't have one hub or more hubs to welcome the so-called more residential yachting or long-staying yacht owners. What other countries do have, some like emerging countries just like Greece, Malta, or just like other countries in the past already have done. If we look at the Tigullio Gulf, for example, in Italy, this is a very loved destination for people coming from Milan. We have other destinations that are good for quite short staying, such as the Amalfi Coast, but the logistics and infrastructures make it not that easy for foreign yacht owners to choose those destinations. We have a dedicated division, as you know, for the development of yachting, and we've long worked especially for southern Italy, Sicily, and the other islands, which are fantastic destinations, but private owners can simply not choose those destinations by themselves because we still lack connections to the main European cities, or we have no access roads to the main marinas. So we need quite a massive investment plan for these destinations. And please also consider that such customers do require a very high level in terms of services. Well, first of all, a residential crew supports local economies. The city of Genoa in 2019 had more than 7,000 people, could welcome 7,000 people only coming from the cruise. But then we have, of course, services relating to catering, to food catering, or flowers, or services, or again, food and wine services, or laundry services, not to mention, of course, the maintenance services that would be needed by a residential boat, let's say. So this is what we are still missing. Maybe we would need to have this included in a single platform to promote in a stable way a specific destination of a country. And this is a pity.
Yes, this is very clear, especially, in Slovenia, in Croatia, in other countries, they have grown much more than us, even though their offer is smaller than ours. So now I would like to ask any Italian government to respond, Mr. Palmucci. Enit is one of the most important institutional partners in tourism. Please give us your point of view on this subject. So we have themes such as tax relief and everything. So what do you think about all these topics, all these matters? Well, thank you very much. I am the last speaker, so I had the chance to listen carefully, and I myself also I contributed to this book. So I can just share what was already presented by the President, and also I endorse all the contents and the recommendations. Then I would also like to remember that it is very important. The high-end tourism is very important. I am the chair of the Italian Government Tourist Board since half of 2019. So at that time, we were experiencing extraordinary seasons, many tourists in our country. But as we were saying before, there was also a phenomenon of over-tourism, which means not just high-end tourism, quality tourism. We also had the issue of over-tourism. So we were launching a 3-year plan where we would implement, we would enhance all the sectors, all the bases needed for the high-end tourism. Then we also focused on the Chinese market because we have an office in Beijing, and also we opened a new office in Shanghai and Banzhou. Even though, you know, we are experiencing this pandemic, still we were able to open these offices. And then we are also working with the embassies, working with the Italian Trade Promotion Office. And also, as Désiré Bollier said, I too think that we need to promote our brand, the brand called Italy. And we have our constitutions that says that tourism is a regional matter. And we have to work on this, but at the same time, we are working a lot with the regions, but at the same time, we are trying to coordinate in a propositive way. We are making propositions in order to create a stronger message to launch all over the world. And to increase the value, we have to focus on high-end tourism. We have to focus on seasonal adjustment. We have to so it means that we need investments by the government in order to create funds that can be accessible by those in the hospitality sector, and so that we can we can appeal, we can be appealing to the high-end tourists, luxury tourists, because these would also be beneficial to our GDP. So the Ministry of Tourism is a very important entity, and I am glad that it was established, because perhaps one of the pandemic's effects is making us more aware that tourism is important for our future, for the growth of our GDP. So it means that now we have to, as I said before, as we already told the minister about this. So as Italian Government Tourist Board, we will be working in such a way. We are working with Virtuoso, with C-Trip in China. We are participating to luxury fairs all over the world. And then we pushed in order to increase the weekly flights between Italy and China. In January 2020, it was supposed to be the year of Italian and Chinese culture. And in January 2020, there was this pact in order to increase the number of flights to China from Italy up to 164 per week. That would increase the flow of tourism from China and increase the number of nights that they would stay in Italy. And so we need to work also to increase education, education that aims to express education that expresses the beauty of our country, especially to the new generations. Thank you very much, Mr. Palmucci. So this was the first round of our panel discussion. And Mr. Pignano, so you are about Apulia. So what everyone knows about Indian weddings, but what about other events that we can also hold in Apulia? And as Andrea Guerra was mentioning, in Italy, when behind all the success cases, we have families, and also in Apulia, it's the same. In Apulia, you can find a wide array of emotions, and so you can perceive that in Apulia. And so many families in Apulia have worked so that now many more tourists can perceive those Apulian emotions. So I think that Apulia is, at a regional level, is doing well. And we have a number of factors that are leading us to success. Now we have big international groups that are helping us out. So there are Italian families working fruitfully. And if we can take our sector from 25 billion to 100 billion, I'm sure that also the Italian chain will support our high-end tourism success. So international groups are important. So with Andrea Guerra, you also entered in Ostuni with your projects. So Andrea Guerra, tell us about that. Italy is history. Everything started with Orient Express. The Orient Express arrives to Venice, and then from Venice to Cipriani, and then from Cipriani to all the beautiful places that we can offer. I'm sure that we can achieve new goals. I have three things I would like to mention. The first one, we need to improve logistics, which is not just about creating new infrastructures, but also enhance airlines to fly to Italy all year long, like Genova and Olbia in Sicily. Why don't we have flights going there all year long? So let's increase the number. We have 4 strong seasons. Let's use them all. The second point, years ago, we had a project from the government. It worked very well because it involved, it was Industry 4.0. And we had also Hospitality 4.0, Industry 4.0. And all of these also led to investments in several sectors and investments in emotions. I think that this is an important plan that needs to be deployed more and more. And the third thing is something I would like to ask the government is to is education. Increase the span of education. Now, in Switzerland, we have very strong schools, and so we need to train people that can work in this sector. Otherwise, we will have to rely on the families we talked about before, but you know, it's not just about that. Andrea Guerra is doing many things, and you were also in the Italian government as a consultant, so he knows what is possible to do and what is not possible to do. So now, at the government, there is Mario Draghi, the Prime Minister. Do you think that what you just asked will be also achievable thanks to the European resources? We always need resources, but sometimes they become an alibi. And Industry 4.0 was launched in a moment that was difficult. We didn't have many resources at that time, but it was possible to create an array, a series of opportunities for our digitalization. And many investors, many entrepreneurs thought that that was an important point. It's not the government leading us to the next generation. It's the entrepreneurs that are leading the country to the new generation. Palmucci, do you think that's the case? Do you think that the new National Recovery and Resilience Plan will help? Yes, I agree. I would like to say that in terms of training, not just at the government level, but also at a government of the foundations, government-related foundations, we are establishing some training centers that are reminders, those of Switzerland and the United States. The first premise will be in Venice, will be in partnership with Venice University. So training is fundamental because we need that in order to satisfy the requirements of this sector, so that all the managers from now on, they don't have to go abroad. They can find the right knowledge also in Italy. And also about the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, there is an item that is tourism in that plan, and we will also have to take a look at the other items regarding the investments, so that we can take the next step. Also high-speed trains and a number of flights, and we have to make easier the access to the destinations. So flights from Germany to the Canary Islands are 10 times bigger in number compared to the one from Germany to Sicily. That's not acceptable. We need to increase the national airlines, the number of flights of national airlines, private airlines, helicopters, and so on.
But I would like to understand what's the key move that the country might take in order to enhance its high-end tourism industry.
Well, thank you very much. I think I'd like to repeat everything I've heard here is really, so I'll actually say two very important things, I think, in this framework that need further emphasis. Number one, as was said by Desiree, was the fact that Italy's strength is its diversity of the 21 regions. So somehow through this framework, figuring out how the regions can benefit each other to having a plan where everybody can do that. Of course, infrastructure, connectivity, and all that, a unified way of speaking of the destination, and then being able to focus on the benefits. So that's important, and those elements are there. The other is very specifically one of my #1 recommendations for any destination that wants to have more high-end travel. And Mr. Lunelli spoke about it as well in the framework, and that is private-public partnership, particularly around the Ministry of Culture and museums and accessibility that actually benefits the privileged access, if you might want to call it privileged, to museums, after hours, things like that. Every single destination that I see in the world where that private-public partnership allows the private sector to elevate the experience, the emotion, and in fact, it connects to the topic of sustainability, because sustainability isn't just about the environment and responsibility, which should be part of the narrative. Sustainability is also the preservation of natural and cultural heritage and the benefiting of local economies. The affluent traveler wants to make sure that their expenditures are a force for good. So for example, if museums or different sites, Italy has many, many different historical sites that are being understandably protected by the Ministry of Culture or whoever's in charge of those, but the ability to have access to these types of experiences, just like ALTAGAMMA is working with the incredible Italian luxury industry to create that special access. But what's beautiful about that special access is that, you know, when done correctly, luxury clients want to see how it actually benefits the preservation of that site, the ability to do that. So you'll get an interest fee for something that's thousands of people, and then you'll have a microcosm of luxury clients who will spend very high dollars to have privileged access. But if the story of that privileged access also is connected to how that access is benefiting the community, benefiting the cultural preservation, those are things that are very important. So the unification of the regions into a greater Italian ethos, and the ability to have connectivity that's more seamless, because Italy is well known for the varieties of rules and regulations and issues around the country. I think that really, and the luxury customer wants to have that. They were already starting to travel off season. That has been going on for 10 years. The sophisticated traveler didn't want that. And as you have a conscious comeback to Italian tourism, I do think that in the broader market, applying the sciences and techniques to deal with over-tourism is also going to be something that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that Desiree Bollier was telling us before. So I come back to you, Desiree Bollier, because when people come to Fidenza Village, for example, it's not just about shopping, it's about also cultural dining experience and so on. And talking of the destination of the future of high-end tourism, looking ahead after post-COVID, what will be the key characteristic of the destination that you think people will chase for and dream for?
Places, you know, I always say we are in the memory making business. And if we stop for 1 second and really take this sentence in, what do you take back home when you go from your destination is really actually memories that you have now on your phone. In the old days, you would assemble all the photography and you really tell the story of what you just lived. And to Matthew's point, you know, and Andrea was talking about the Orient Express. All those words are actually dreamlike. You're selling a dream, right? And all of it has to be seamless. And if you are in the memory making, indeed, working private and public, we've done that. You know, Ferrari opens its door for special visits to a lot of our partners, because high net worth client, high net worth guest, because we want them to really have an experience money cannot buy. And if we summarize it Italy has so many experiences that money cannot buy. So if indeed we open the doors of our amazing museums, our amazing luxury factories, our amazing wine, at off hours, evening, whatever, you're selling a dream and money cannot buy experiences. They will go home and talk to hundreds of their friends about coming to Italy and visiting something unusual.
Giovanna Vitelli, l'ultima parola perché molte delle
Giovanna Vitelli, one last thing. Many of the things we have talked about will happen thanks to the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, but also it's important to work with mariners, and working with mariners, it is sometimes difficult also for you, also because, the public administration is not always helpful. And so what do you think about it? What do you think about today's conversation?
Well, I'd like to mention just three very pragmatical, very concrete issues that are just crucial and vital for the yachting sector. First of all, we have to keep those boats, those yachts in Italy. We have to stress the fact that we are big manufacturers of yachts, so we produce these boats that then become property of foreign owners. This is something we've already stressed. We stressed back in 2014, 2017, 2019. We are still lacking a specific decree. We have a regulation that was established for the merchant boats, but we need to apply this for to yachts as well. And this would mean Italian crews on boats, on yachts based in Italy. And I'd like to link this to the training, because we need Italian yachts where we need crews with a sort of that are much of the times trained in English-speaking countries or do come from that word. So we still need a high-level training school in Italy. Second thing, mariners. This is a very old issue. So the best mariners, the ones that are best ideally organized in terms of appealing tourist hubs, are managed by private businesses. But, the legislation varies far too often. So the principles or the set of rules underlying the taxes for the marinas locations, should be stable and not vary so often. And until last year, in order to register a yacht, you should physically go to an office to register your yacht. Then we now have this digital register, finally, where this registration paperwork has been digitalized, but these cannot be applied as to date to tourism yachts, and this means that our customers are moving to Malta because it would take far too long in Italy, and this is bureaucracy, and this is something we cannot accept. It's not a matter of money, but of good willing. Thank you.
Thank you very much also for mentioning the actual obstacles that we have to overcome. And you have shown to us what we're supposed to do. So I would like to thank Giovanna Vitelli and Vice President for ALTAGAMMA, Alto Pagnane, and Matthew Upchurch from Virtuoso, and Andrea Guerra of LVMH, and Manfredi Lefebvre Dovio for Abercrombie and Kent, and Mr. Palmucci from Ennet. Thank you very much for this big challenge, and I would like Mr. Lunelli to, I'll leave him the floor for the final remarks. Thank you very much, Andrea. It was a very stimulating panel discussion, And high-end tourism was the topic. In the end, I would like to thank once again Boston Consulting Group and Nicola Pianon and Claudia D'Arpizio from Ben & Company for this very interesting research that they have carried out. That is the basis for our effort. And also the hospitality team of ALTAGAMMA and all the ALTAGAMMA's representatives that are here today, connected here. Unfortunately, this time around, we could not hold this event in presence, but perhaps next time we will be able to be in front of each other, face to face. I hope so. Thank you very much, Andrea Cabrini, for moderating this event. Also, thanks to Stefania Lazzaroni, because her team and herself, they really worked hard for this project. This project is very strategic to us because, as we said, tourism is very strategic to our country and to our creativity. And also, high-end tourism is fundamental to us. And we think that this niche market has a big potential, and we think that this is linked to a big opportunity that is ahead of us, that is in front of us. During this panel discussion, we understood that we have to speak as a single voice, and also the idea of this industry, of the industry 4.0, and also the emotion 4.0. We need and we need the resources to win this challenge. We also think that within the strategies, we have to take a strong decision, strong choices in order to be more appealing to international tourists. Also because this is linked to the concept of sustainability, because we cannot grow anymore the numbers of tourists. We have to increase the quality of tourism, and this will be beneficial to the economy of our country and to the environment of our country as well. We had 900 people connected today. I am very happy. Again, I'm very sorry that we could not see each other face to face, but at least thanks to this digital event, we could, achieve this number, 900 people connected today, and that are linked to our economy somehow, perhaps. So, in the end, Mario Draghi said that undoubtedly tourism in Italy will become stronger than ever. Tourism was struck by pandemic and COVID-19, but we know that it will come back stronger as ever. And also, Mr. Draghi said that now Italy is ready to welcome the world. So we are really looking forward to the reopening of the tourism flows. Thank you very much. This is the first of a number of events that we will be holding. And so thank you very much for your kind attention. Goodbye.